Afternoon or good evening. It's the late shift. Is everyone going to Universal Studios tonight? Yeah. So I'm going to keep this to 5 minutes then. You can leave. Right? Yeah? My name is Alistair Pugin. I do stuff with stuff. I think that's the easiest way to explain it. And today I'm going to talk a bit about making sure that your tenant is ready for Teams. A lot of times we have customers going, we want Teams and we're ready for Teams. And then when they roll Teams out, they realize the underlying infrastructure and architecture is not ready for you to deploy Teams. Right. A little bit about me when the clicker works. Like I said, my name's Alistair Pugin. I am from sunny South Africa. So hopefully I don't have to talk too slow for you to understand me. Because a lot of times people say I talk too fast. And I've only got 20 minutes, so I might have to play my voice at 1.5 times the speed of what you would normally listen to. Or are there people in the crowd that actually want to watch Netflix at 1.5 times the speed, right? We've all seen that now. I don't know if you listen to podcasts. I have a podcast called Two Guys on SharePoint. I'm one of the Regarding 365 members, so if you head over to YouTube, you'll be able to find our channel there, and also if you go to regarding365.com, you'll find our Medium publication, and also I've got a channel inside of Regarding 365 called 365 Unplugged. And I think that's enough about me. So what are we talking about today? How many people are on Teams currently? Yeah. And does it work? So why are you here? If it does work, right? But today I want to look at the functional components of what makes up this world that we live in today called Teams. I mean, Teams is the everything source, right? The awesome source. It's the new user interface for most of Microsoft's products in the cloud, and we just saw a whole bunch of new announcements that I'll touch on in a bit that's going to impact how you manage Teams. And those announcements were made, I think, on Monday or Tuesday in one of the tech notes, and we'll jump into that. Also, the administration of working with Teams. And we spent some time in Seattle chatting to Microsoft about the new cert. I think it's MS700 that's out now. And you can write it around the corner for free, and it's Teams administration. I mean, they've got 300 and 301, which also talks to Teams, but MS700 is the new Teams certification. And on day 2 of what we call a joint task activity, I got into a debate with one of my fellow MVPs about what is a Teams administrator. So in a large organization, a Teams administrator is someone that just works with Teams. But in a smaller organization, a Teams administrator is the SharePoint administrator, is the OneDrive administrator, is the global administrator of the tenant. So how do we divvy up the roles and responsibilities of a Teams administrator? We're then also going to look at how do you protect your environment, because Teams touches other products in the stack. And how do you remain compliant when it comes to how do I make sure my chats don't disappear? What happens when I'm working externally with a guest? Where does that information get stored when I'm having a one-on-one chat? Those are the things that you need to take into consideration when rolling out Teams. It's not just a replacement for Skype. And a lot of times organizations that move from on-premises Skype to Skype Online or Skype for Business Online, and then they want to now replace Skype for Business Online with Teams, and all of a sudden it's a lot more than just migrating Skype users to Teams. So how many people have worked with Skype? And have you moved your users across to Teams? Not yet. So coexistence? All right. I think I wrote an article when they announced that Skype's life is ending and Teams is the new Skype back in 2017, to all the Skype engineers and the Skype architects out there, because all the Skype engineers went, well, all of a sudden we're no longer just dealing with voice, right? I can't make a call, or my meeting experience is really shitty. So what do we need from an architectural perspective to run Teams successfully in your organization? How many people use live events? Okay. And does it work? Okay. Thank you very much for that. So let's, where are we? Okay. We've got 15 minutes. Let's move. So number one, what are the operational efficiencies and inefficiencies that you need when dealing with teams? Do you like the little guy? I actually met a friend of this guy. His name's Steve, by the way. And you can find him on Gratisography. He's the whimsical model for all of their backgrounds. So operationally, when we look at rolling out teams, those are the things that Teams touches. So we know Exchange. We know that when working with Exchange, you have to make sure of three things. One, are you moving your mailboxes to the cloud? A lot of large organizations that do mailbox filtering and have some sort of cloud broker running wants to sniff the mail. So you're either going to deploy it in hybrid, and you're going to have your mail security managed by something like Proofpoint or Global Relay, because you want to be able to understand what mail's going out. And when moving to the cloud, or when wanting to consume Teams, you need to at least make sure that you're running Exchange hybrid. You don't have to have the mailbox in the cloud. It has to be Exchange 2016 Service Pack 3. You also need to make sure that you're using Azure AD Connect and syncing your users at least to the cloud so that you can actually utilize the services for Teams. Now, if Exchange is not running, you can't schedule a meeting. And a lot of people come back and say, hey, I can have a one-on-one chat with my users or with other people in my organization, but the minute I want to schedule a meeting, it doesn't work. That's because you either don't have mailboxes in the cloud, or Exchange hybrid is not configured, or you don't at least have some sort of identity management that will push back your mailboxes, well, not your mailboxes, your calendaring to on-prem. So make sure that your Exchange is either in hybrid mode or you're running the latest version of Exchange service so that this actually works with AD Connect. The next thing I want to talk about is OneNote. Understand what OneNote implications there are when spinning up a team, because it does all of those other things. And Matt Wade has actually got a really, really cool infographic on what happens when you create a team, because a team spins up a whole bunch of other services on the back end. Something as simple as, if you do not allow your users the facility to create Office 365 groups, they're not going to be able to create a team. And then what? What happens then, right? And I mean, that alone is a security risk in its own. I mean, do we let our users create membership service providers? All of a sudden, they get to manage who has access to the team because they can create an Office 365 group. And for a lot of security people, that's a scary thought. So understand what happens. If you don't allow that, the user's not going to be able to create it, and you're going to have some sort of policy in place where you would create the team on behalf of the user. SharePoint. How many people use SharePoint outside of Teams? Yeah? Okay, so everyone in the room. Well, mostly. And I get a lot of times customers coming to me and say, hey, we're trying to share a file with a guest user, and the Files tab doesn't work. How do we fix that? We troll the Teams Admin Center, and we can't find this. That's because external sharing is actually sitting in either the SharePoint Admin Center or the OneDrive Admin Center. And that's the other thing when we start talking about Office Online and OneDrive. If you do not allow external access or external sharing to OneDrive through the OneDrive Admin Center, that one-on-one chat that you're having with a guest user when you upload a document doesn't work. And your users are going to come back to you and say, hey, we would like to share files when we're dealing with guest or external users. And you might have a security policy that says we do not allow external sharing, but then you need to inform your users that you can't share a file externally. Same with PowerPoint, same with Word, same with Yammer. And Yammer's new, right? Yammer's now in the rail in Teams. So what do you need to do to make sure that Yammer actually works? Because your users are inadvertently going to click the button and say, hey, I want to use Yammer. The button's there. If the button's there, they're going to want to click it. So make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into when you switch things on. If you look at Office Online, if you don't allow access to it, someone's going to click on a document in Teams and not going to render. And that's a problem because you don't want to negatively impact the user experience of your users when using Teams because you want them to adopt it. So understand very clear before you flip the switch. Look, worst case scenario, you can do what Lawrence Trent does and he disables the Teams button. And then it's Skype with superpowers, right? You can have your one-on-one chat, but you can't create a team. And if that's going to work for you when rolling out Teams, then do it. Don't be afraid to do that, but understand and engage your users. So moving on, outside of the infrastructure considerations, well, I call it infrastructure, what do we have to worry about when it comes to administration of Teams? And do we know what we need to make sure of when we are administering Teams? And how many people have seen the Teams admin portal? Okay. For those who haven't seen it, there's a lot behind the scenes that you need to worry about. When we start looking at all of these tabs down the side, you'll notice there's quite a few drop-down menus. And those require quite a bit of understanding. Now, I'm not a calls guy. Where's Warren? A mate of mine over there, he's the calls guy. I don't worry about call quality management. That's all now managed inside of the Teams admin center. So when we actually look at what we need to know when managing Teams from an administrative perspective and how it impacts users, the first thing we need to know is that we actually manage teams there. How do you create a team? What sort of policies do you put in place? We also manage devices. So those that have meeting room systems, where you have physical devices in meeting rooms, you actually manage it out of there, and your phone telephony stuff also comes out of there. We also manage users, so the calling policies for users, and that's all Warren stuff. I don't care about someone making a phone call in Teams, and it's going to talk to the other side of when we go through this. We also talk about meetings. So how do we conduct meetings? I know there's a lot of concern around being able to mute everyone because everyone can unmute themselves, and that's coming down the line if you look at all the Teams announcements. We also talk about permissions for apps. I like apps, but I mean, you could literally scroll through the App Store and you could add something like Trello, and that talks externally to go fetch information externally. So understand what happens when it comes to all of these things. Microsoft used to talk about side-loading apps and third-party apps because you can literally upload an app, a custom app, and you can actually install that app inside of your environment. So understand what that means. Also understand the voice side of things. So when you are configuring direct routing so that you can make calls through an SBC, a trunk call, this happens inside of the Teams admin center. It's not just about can I send a message and an animated GIF inside of a team, or can I create private channels, which is coming. And also understand what happens under org-wide settings, because this is where you're going to allow external users and guest users access to your environment. So as much as we see the usage of Teams growing, because it's fairly simplistic interface, I have a team, I have a channel, I can chat with someone one-on-one, or I can chat to a group of people at the same time, like I do on Facebook and like I do on WhatsApp. It's very, very important to understand what those tabs do. Now, there's a few things around that makes our lives a little bit easier when it comes to giving the right permissions to the right users and roles inside of your organization when you work with Teams. So if you don't want to give anyone global admin rights, you can actually start working through the various permission policies, or what we like to call role-based access control inside of Teams. So, I clicked the wrong button. When we look at the topmost one, the most powerful or global godlike rights inside of your team admin center is the Team Service Administrator. It's the most powerful. You then drill down to the Comms Administrator that does all the voice side, not the sort of meeting side when it comes to SharePoint and OneDrive. You then have a Communication Support Engineer, which handles all the support calls and will be able to see the reports, and I have to speed up because I'm running out of time, and this is usually a much longer session. And then also the Support Specialist, and most powerful, somewhat powerful, okay-ish, and okay. That's how I rate the level. So if you're not going to give someone global admin rights, or if you've got an organization that actually has role-based administrators inside of your organization, so you've got a SharePoint administrator, a Skype administrator, and so forth, so on, an Exchange administrator, these are the types of roles that you can assign to the people that need to manage and administer teams. bearing in mind that a Teams administrator generally needs to know how SharePoint works, how OneDrive works, and a whole bunch of other things, because Teams touches everything. Planner, Stream, all of those things. And just one thing on the external access for Stream, there is no external access for Stream. So if you are conducting a meeting with external guests and you are recording it and you want to save it so that they can hit the play button, it does not work for external users. You're going to have to, what we do, download it and then upload it to YouTube and then share the link. Or upload the MP4 directly to the channel, and that's going to sit inside of Teams. Now, it's all good and well that we work with Teams effectively and people are using it, but how do we make sure that people don't lose content or people don't share the wrong content? Because tick box, external guest access, boom, we're in, right? So when we start looking at protection, you now need to understand what stuff like the sensitivity labels do inside of the Security and Compliance Center, and also what Azure Information Protection does when it comes to protecting content, because I'm sharing the new prototype details with a guest user inside of Teams, and they can hit the download button and walk out with it. Well, that's what we have to worry about. It's sitting in my OneDrive, and I think my OneDrive is protected, but it's not, because I can share it externally. So lock down the content, the object. You don't have to lock down the container, because in today's world, we don't work with containers. It doesn't matter where the object is stored. We want to lock down the object. Teams doesn't care that it sits in SharePoint or that it sits in OneDrive. So understand what sort of protection components you have built into the cloud where you can start protecting the document, not just the container that the document gets stored in. And with Azure Information Protection, you can actually lock down content inside of your organization. The next thing for me is about compliance. So how do we make sure that we comply, or we are compliant as an organization when auditors step into the room? I mean, we all know about Sarbanes-Oxley. There's so many movies made on top of the Enron scandal, and we need to make sure that we can actually retain content that is stored inside of a team, because it's going to sit in SharePoint or it's going to sit in OneDrive. We also need to make sure that we are effectively managing data loss prevention inside of our organization, so that people can't delete something, or if they do delete something, it is archived, and when I need to perform litigation holds inside of the organization because somebody wants to know where the document is or provide me with proof that you actually own the document, you can then go find that document. And you can perform that functionality inside of the Security and Compliance Center and compile the necessary, build out the necessary policies, and you'll notice it will also extend to Teams chat, and that's where all your content is. And as much as there's a OneDrive account, OneDrive's actually SharePoint. And the last thing I want to talk about, and if you need to know anything more about this, there's a lady sitting over there named Tracy van der Schaaf, and she'll talk to you about adoption. So how do you make sure that your organization uses Teams? Not consumes Teams, uses Teams. Because consumption is a metric. Usage is a different kettle of fish, right? Now, transition, big thing, especially when you're moving users from Skype to Teams, or when you're moving users from traditional ways of working to a platform like Teams. Understand what transition management is. If you don't have a team, one person will do. Make sure you communicate the impact of Teams. Go have a look online. There's a whole bunch of slides. There's a whole bunch of cheat sheets to get that information out. Train your users. Because users break things. Not that you can break anything in the cloud, but you don't want to negate the user experience because of the lack of training. Spend most of your money on training. Also understand governance. So if you are going to enable external guest access, what type of guest access are you going to enable? Are you going to limit it to a few domains? Are you going to use Azure B2B or B2C? Understand how enrollment works in your organization. Understand what conditional access policies are when I'm sitting at a bar in the Ukraine on insecure Wi-Fi. Am I going to let them connect to Teams? These are the things that you need to take into consideration when it comes to governance. And we all know that Blurple is the new sexy color, and we need to keep to that because that's going to impact our user experience. You cannot theme Teams. Not in this release anyway. And then lastly, just to recap the new Teams features, which is going to impact these slides, private channels is here. It's rolling out. Let's hope it rolls out, but it should roll out because it's been rolling out since the 4th, right? Private channels is there. Don't create an org-wide team and then 478 private channels. That's not how you design information architecture for Teams. Multi-window, very sexy, very on vogue, very old school Skype, right? So at least you can appease your Skype users. Linux support, can we have a moment? Yeah? Polls and surveys like you have inside of Kaizala, and for those who do not know what Kaizala is, don't worry about it because it's been sucked into Teams. Pinned channels, my favorite option inside of Teams because now I can have the top teams that I work with on the top left. I'll also have Outlook integration, so it's easier than trying to copy that long URL to send a mail into Outlook with adaptive cards, and I'm running out of time. Unified task view, I like that, but to-dos, tasks is to do, and planners, tasks as well, so get used to that. And then lastly, the Yammer in the Teams rail, which I am very excited about. This is a handful of announcements that have come out of Microsoft Ignite this year for Teams. There's a huge blog post on Tech Community. Advisor for Teams. So everything that you've just seen right now, don't listen to me. Just go to Advisor for Teams. It's in public preview right now. It'll tell you everything I just told you. And then final thoughts. Be careful what you do inside of Teams. Understand that Teams touches everything in Office 365. That's why it's the everything source. Understand what happens to SharePoint. Do not mess around in the SharePoint Teams site that's associated with Teams, please. Understand what happens in OneDrive. Understand how to lock down your content when working with SharePoint and OneDrive because otherwise people just share indiscriminately. And also make sure that if you are rolling out some sort of telephony inside of Teams that you do it right. I mean, you can spin up an SPC in Azure and it's going to work much better for you. But understand the implications. Also, Teams runs in VDI. So if you are using... Thank you. And that's a wrap. All right, well, thank you. I'm done. They ended it. And I'm here all week. Enjoy the rides tonight, people, and be safe.